Welcome to the third session of highway engineering. In the last session, we discussed about the vehicular movement on a plain horizontal circular curve. So we could see that when the vehicle traversing a circular curve, the centrifugal force develops and the centrifugal force has a tendency to either overturn the vehicle or to skid the vehicle. We also did the analysis of the stability of vehicle under these conditions against overturning and against overlapping. We could derive the factor of centrifugal ratio and what should be the limit of centrifugal ratio in order to avoid the overturning as well as lateral skidding. This is what we summarized. So today's class we are going to see like in practical how we are able to counteract the centrifugal force especially on the horizontal curves. So the concept here we are going to introduce is something called as a super elevation. So to counteract the centrifugal force and to reduce the tendency of overturning and skidding is generally achieved by providing super elevation. So how is it possible? Just imagine this as your horizontal curve and this is your inner edge, this is your outer edge. So what generally we do is that this outer edge of the curve. So what we want throughout the curve, we don't want your vehicle to move out from the outer edge, right? So we will slightly rise this outer edge. Please see that we will slightly rise the outer edge with respect to the inner edge. So this is what I meant. Okay, so my curve or at the curvature throughout the horizontal length, I will be providing this slight tilt or a slope or an inclination is provided. By rising my outer edge, what I am achieving is that I will get a small tilt or a slope or an inclination throughout the length of the horizontal curve. It helps me to counteract the centrifugal force. So let's see a sketch. First, let's understand a plane curve in which there is no super elevation. So, super elevation is generally designated by a letter E. That's why I am writing here E is equal to 0 when there is no super elevation. So, if this is your horizontal curve, the vehicle movement will be somewhere like your vehicle is moving, right? So, the horizontal surface I am now going to draw. Probably you can consider this as its wheelbase. Okay, and whatever the center of gravity, the centrifugal force is acting outwards, vertically down, the weight of the vehicle is acting downwards. This is on a plain horizontal circular curve where there is super elevation is 0. Now, what is that we are saying now? On a super elevated means I am going to rise the outer edge. So, if this is the outer edge, I am going to rise this outer edge so that I am creating a transverse slope or inclination throughout the horizontal length. So this inclination or this angle I can mark it as theta for your understanding. So your horizontal surface is not now this because you have been raised your surface to this inclination. Now if you are keeping your vehicle, let's say with the super elevation, vehicle positioning will be like this. So this is the case in which were horizontal circular curve with the super elevation. So you can see that this is your center of gravity, centrifugal force acting and the weight acting downwards. So the basic difference is that here I am talking about a horizontal surface, but here my pavement surface will be slightly tilted. So it is raised. So this rise is the vertical height you are providing. By providing this vertical height, you are creating an inclination. This is what the meaning of super elevation. This super elevation is something all of us have experienced whenever we are traveling on a national highways or any roads with a, when there is a horizontal curve. So I'm going to show you a small video in which you can actually see the movement and see that what is meant by the tilt or raising of outer edge or the super elevation concept. So let's have a look at the video. So I'm sharing a video which is already available in YouTube. If you want, you can refer it. Super elevation design for road. So here what my emphasis is, have a look at the horizontal curve and the vehicle movement over there. So the vehicle is moving. Can you see the tilt provided? So this is what we are saying, by raising your outer edge, you will get an inclination or a slope and it will continue once at the exit of your horizontal curve. Now let's see how to derive an equation for superelevation. So recall the concept: horizontal curve, inner edge, outer edge. Let me mark this outer edge for a better understanding. Now, so here is your straight path, and a deviation comes, transition curve starts. So I'm going to mark 2 points over here, M, which is on the inner edge, and a point N, which is, we'll mark L, which is on your outer edge. Now what is that we are doing? We are rising our outer edge with respect to inner edge. So assume that this is the rise I have given. Okay, so this rise, let me match to the, so this is your horizontal curve has been raised, the outer edge has been raised. Okay, this point, new point, I am going to mark it as the letter N. So we mark 3 points, M, N, L. Now let's see how the inclination has come. So this is the inclined one, this is the horizontal straight path. This is the horizontal width has come. Now this is what the inclination has been given. Now this height I am going to mark as E height, and this width will be B. This width is nothing but this is now your width of the pavement. I hope you are able to understand. Now this angle which has been created is called as theta. Now let's derive an equation for superelevation. So I'm just going to redraw this entire triangle concept here. So this is M, N, L, theta angle. So what is superelevation? Superelevation E is equal to height of the outer edge with respect to the horizontal width. So height of the outer edge, I'm just writing in short way, with respect to the horizontal width. So from the triangle, I know that how much is height of the outer edge, which is NL. Horizontal width is ML. So this is NL by ML. What is that NL by ML? From the triangle, using your trigonometric relation, this is opposite side, this is adjacent side. So NL by ML is nothing but tan theta. Okay. In practical, we have limitation in providing superelevation. You cannot provide a very steep inclination. So there is some constraints with respect to that. In the session little late, we will see like how much is the value of maximum superelevation, minimum superelevation under different terrain conditions and all. I don't want to complicate now. For our understanding, let's take this point. This value is being limited for a maximum value, and hardly it exceeds your superelevation value, hardly exceeds to 7%. We call it in percentage. So one can say that E max can be considered as 7%. If you are taking that as the value, then your tan theta is going to be 0.07. What is the meaning of it? The theta is going to be negligibly small. So one can actually limit this tan theta approximate to your sin theta. So the equation can be NL by ML. Now I am going to write in terms of sin theta. So opposite side divided by hypotenuse, which is NL by MN. Now what is NL and MN? Go back to the first picture. So we considered E as the height you have given in the outer edge. So you can write NL as E divided by MN. MN is nothing but the width of your pavement. So width of the pavement EB. So superelevation E is equal to vertical height, height of the outer edge divided by width of the pavement surface. In many of the competitive examinations, you have seen the question like how much is the height in this outer edge has been given. So you can use this equation and calculate outer edge height is equal to superelevation design into width of the pavement. So you can get the answer. The further topics we are going to discuss is that one should be knowing about the analysis of superelevation. So when I say analysis of superelevation, we are going to bring about what are the various forces going to act and which are the forces counteracting your centrifugal force and what is the equilibrium conditions at the point. The second point is that you need to know about the limitations in the value. That means how much can be the maximum value can be considered in design, how much is the limiting minimum value of super elevation. That is the second aspect. And the third aspect is, for a super elevation design, how should I design for, what should be the value of E considered with respect to the speed, radius. So we will see like what are the steps involved in doing a super elevation design. That's the third aspect. And with this knowledge, probably a couple of numericals we can solve. So this is the sequence the video is going to be arranged. So first talk about the analysis of super elevation. So the analysis of super elevation means we are going to draw the sketch in which this is the inclination, super elevation. I am marking this angle as theta. So this is my inclined plane. Now let's keep the vehicle. So this is the vehicle on the surface, inclined surface, super elevated surface, wheelbase. Clear? Now mark the center of gravity. So what are the forces acting on it? We know that centrifugal force is developing and the weight of the vehicle. So these are the first two forces we are going to mark. Centrifugal force is acting horizontally outwards. Please note that P stands for centrifugal force through the center of gravity horizontally outwards. And what about weight of the vehicle? Vertically downwards. Weight of the vehicle W. P and W. Now what are the other forces? Please recollect when we did the similar exercise for the plane circular curve, we discussed about how the frictional forces are developing. We also discussed like how the reactions are developing at the outer edge and inner edge of the wheel. So the same things we are applying here also. So we know that reactions apart from centrifugal force and weight of the vehicle, these two we already marked. We need to mark now frictional forces as well as reactions develop. So reactions at inner edge and outer edge of the wheel will be called it as RA, RB. Similarly, the friction develops will be FA and FB. So these are the forces now we are going to mark. But we need to do it slightly carefully. The very first important thing is let's mark the friction first. Let's mark the reactions first. So what is reaction? Reaction means when there is any action, any force, an opposing force. This opposing force acts perpendicular or normal to the surface. Now, which is your surface? Your surface is the inclined surface. So, inclined surface along the wheel. So, this wheelbase, at the wheelbase, reaction RB, assuming outer wheel edges B. So, this is what I meant. Can you see this normal reaction? So normally onto your inclined surface. Similarly RA, one can mark RA. So this is also a perpendicular reaction. So RA, RB we have marked. Now next is friction. Friction is always opposing to the motion. So centrifugal force is outwards. Opposing to us is friction. But that is acting on the inclined surface because here is the rubbing action between tire and pavement surface. So friction along the inclined surface opposite to the direction of your motion, FB, similarly FA. Now let's expand FB and FA here itself. Friction means what? Coefficient of friction, frictional force into normal reaction R. So when I am writing FB, I can write coefficient of friction into RB. Similarly, when I am writing FA, I can write it as coefficient of friction into RA. I hope this force resolution is clear. So if you are looking at the sketch, you can understand that there are first the forces, centrifugal forces developing P and weight of the vehicle W and the reactions RA, RB and the frictional force FA, FB. Frictional force, reaction, weight and centrifugal force. These are the forces which are developing into it. Now, if you look little more carefully, you will understand that this RA and reactions and frictional force are acting along the inclined surface. That means frictional force is along the inclined surface and perpendicular to it reaction is happening. So if I'm drawing the coordinates, probably I can draw it in this manner. This is along the inclined plane x and perpendicular to the inclined plane x, y. So this x and y in which your reaction as well as frictional force is acting. Now look at centrifugal force and weight of the vehicle. When I am talking about centrifugal force and weight of the vehicle, I can see that this is acting on the horizontal. That means in this plane, this x and this y. Right. So what is the meaning? We are going to derive equilibrium condition for the inclined surface. So there is a need for you to resolve the horizontal centrifugal force as well as the weight of the vehicle. Take the components on the inclined surface first, then derive the equilibrium equation. So that is what we are going to do, resolution of forces. So first what I am going to do is that mark your inclined force x and inclined surface x axis and y axis through the center of gravity. So just parallelly drawing, I know that this is inclined surface, I am just drawing a parallel line for your better understanding. So this is the x-axis. Similarly y-axis, so which is perpendicular, right? Or other words, parallel to the reaction I can say. So I am just marking the y-axis. This is my axis of reference. Now let's consider for resolution I need an angle. So I know that if this is theta, recall your mechanics and you can say that this angle develops with respect to the y-axis normal. Here there will be theta angle and with respect to the horizontal axis this will also be theta. Okay. Now what? You have the inclined force, you have the angle, you can do the resolution. So what is this force? This component will be P cos theta acting outwards. And similarly its normal component acting downwards, that is P sin theta. Let's resolve now weight of the vehicle. So W, theta is on the vertical axis. So here it will be W cos theta and along its horizontal surface outwards there will be W sin theta. Now let's derive the equilibrium conditions. So let's do it in both axes along x-axis. So how many forces are acting along x-axis? I know that P cos theta, one component acting outwards, W sin theta. So this is what one of the additional element. The centrifugal force is also resisted by your additional element. Weight of W sin theta component will be resisting that. So P cos theta outwards, W sin theta inwards, and frictional force both FB and FA. Just I am going to make another point. If you recall how we did for a plane curve, it was the frictional force was completely resisted by friction. Centrifugal force was completely resisted by friction. Here another element due to gravity is coming into picture. That's how the super elevation, the difference is coming. So let's write the equation. P cos theta is equal to, which are the other forces, because all the three forces are acting inwards. This is our outward force. So P cos theta is equal to W sin theta plus FB, which I am going to write in a expand manner, F into RB plus similarly friction at A, coefficient of friction into reaction at A. So we got our first equation along the x-axis. Now let's consider in the similar manner what is happening at y-axis. Y-axis mein how many forces you have? Two components, one due to centrifugal force, one due to weight of the vehicle. So P sin theta, W cos theta both are acting downwards and it is counteracted by the reactions develops at A and B. So we will write P sin theta plus W cos theta equal to RA plus RB, which forms as equation 2. Now I am going to erase the sketch so that we can now derive both the equations. So how will we compile this equation? Now if you are looking here, we can slightly arrange, because we can take this common term F, coefficient of friction, RA plus RB, and I will come to know RA plus what is RA plus RB from the second equation. So let's do that rearranging the equation. So I'm going to work on the first equation again, that is P cos theta is equal to W sin theta, taking F as a common term. So I will get RA plus RB. This RA plus RB I am going to rewrite what we obtained from the second equation, that is P sin theta plus W cos theta. So W sin theta plus F into P sin theta plus W cos theta. Now slightly again rearrange, because I have P cos theta here, I have P sin theta here. My intention is to get my centrifugal ratio, that is P by W. So let's take all the centrifugal components. So P cos theta minus, please note that F we have taken outside. So it is Fp sin theta. So Fp sin theta is equal to remaining terminology. So W sin theta plus Fw cos theta. Don't make mistake over there. Fw cos theta. Now, how will we further resolve it? I have P cos theta here, P sin theta here. So, I got my centrifugal force. Now, what is that centrifugal ratio? I will get centrifugal ratio. For that, I need to introduce W. P by W is centrifugal ratio. So, let's divide it by this equation by W. That is fine. Divide by W. So, I can introduce W below. But I need to get P by W, that means this cos theta has to be eliminated. So one can say you can divide the entire equation by W cos theta. So if you are doing like so, what is that you are going to get? P cos theta by W sin theta. I'm just writing for your better understanding. Minus Fp sin theta divided by W cos theta equal to W sin theta plus Fw cos theta, the whole divided by W cos theta. Okay. Now, let's do this. So, here you know that cos theta, I made a mistake. This is cos theta. Yeah. So, this cos theta will be getting cancelled. So, your equation will be P by W minus. Now, here there is no terminology to get cancelled. So, F into P by W sin theta by cos theta will be tan theta is equal to, first terminology W will get cancelled, sin theta by cos theta is tan theta plus F W will get cancelled, cos theta. So it will be only F. So this will be the revised equation. Let's again do little more rearrangement, because P by W is a common terminology here. So I'm just taking the common term P by W. 1 minus F tan theta is equal to tan theta plus F. So what will be P by W? So to get the P by W, let's take this terminology to the denominator. So the final equation will be P by W is equal to tan theta plus F on the numerator divided by 1 minus F tan theta. Now, having discussed about the maximum value of super elevation and knowing that what is the design value of your lateral coefficient of friction, let's apply this and further try to solve this equation. So we made a statement like there is a limiting value, and for tan theta value the maximum Emax is considered as 7%, or you can say it as 0.07. This is the maximum value. And for the coefficient of F, when the equilibrium condition is achieved, when there is a full development of your full attainment of the lateral coefficient of friction value, which is 0.15 for the design. So if you use this, then your numerator tan theta plus F divided by 1 minus 0.15 into 0.07. This particular value, if you are multiplying, you may get a value of 0.01. But we have denominator 1 minus 0.01, which will be tan theta plus F divided by 0.99. 1 minus 0.01. So this 0.99 is nothing but you can approximate this as to 1. So your final equation will be P by W is equal to tan theta plus F. Now whoever wants, they can write this tan theta as E also. So let's write in that way. P P by W is equal to E plus F. What is the meaning of this analysis we did? The meaning is that the centrifugal ratio, which is counteracting the centrifugal force, is able to attain from super elevation. It depends on super elevation. Same time it depends on the frictional coefficient of lateral friction also. Now if you look at the value, we already said E is contributing 0.07, F is 0.15. So friction plays a major role. Friction is contributing more to counteract the centrifugal force. The general equation for super elevation, what we have derived is E plus F is equal to P by W. And you know that P by W is nothing but the centrifugal ratio, which can be written as V square by GR. Okay, so let's write in terms of V square by GR is equal to E plus F as the general equation for the super elevation. So here E is the rate of super elevation, which one can calculate as E is equal to tan theta. F is the design value of coefficient of friction. Minimum value is being taken for design as 0.15. And V is the speed of the vehicle. And this is, and please note that if you are writing this equation, the speed is expressed in meter per second. G is nothing but acceleration due to gravity, 9.8 meter per second square. R is radius of the horizontal curve, which is expressed in meter. Now, if you want to express the speed of the vehicle in kilometer per hour, then you have to either you can convert, or if you are applying that value meter per second to kilometer per hour, that is typically multiplying by 5 by 18, and even taking into consideration of G of 9.8 meter per second square, this equation can be rewritten as capital V square divided by 127 R. This 127 I am getting by converting meter per second to kilometer per hour and considering 9.8. So here this V is expressed in kilometer per hour. Remaining terminologies are same. R is in meter, coefficient of friction, super elevation, rate of super elevation E. Now the point here need to understand is that what is your super elevation is going to depend on. My super elevation is going to depend on three factors, which is the speed of the vehicle, obviously, radius of the curve, and coefficient of friction. These are the three factors on which friction is going, super elevation is going to depend on. Now, assume a scenario in which you are not able to provide super elevation on some intersection, probably due to some constraints. Okay, you are not in a position to provide super elevation. So what will happen to this equation? So we are saying now super elevation means E is equal to 0. So such a scenario, your V square by GR is equal to F. What is the meaning of this? The coefficient of lateral friction alone has to counteract the centrifugal force. But in that case, it may not be that easy to design it with respect to the design speed. So you may have to give some constraint with respect to the allowable speed here. So you can say like, the speed, what will be that speed in that case? FGR square root. The speed, in another word, if there is a road in which no super elevation can be provided, please understand this centrifugal force has to be counteracted by the coefficient of friction. And that way, the design speed, there should be some consideration because you cannot have the same design speed. There should be some restriction. So that speed, the allowable speed, one can calculate as F into GR. Now, if you are using, this is in meter per second. Again, if you are using the other kilometer per hour, it will be F into 127 R. Square root of 127 R if it is expressed in kilometer per hour. So I hope the 2 points are clear here. When the super elevation is coming, the centrifugal force is developing, and compared to the plane curve, on a super elevated curve, the center of gravity element is adding as an additional element to oppose the centrifugal force. And we have derived the equation. In the equation we have seen like what is super elevation is going to depend on, and the coefficient of friction, the role played by the coefficient of friction, because it is 0.15. Now there is a case in which you are not able to provide the super elevation, please make a point like the design speed will be considered and it will be restricted according to the equation provided. Now, the second aspect in super elevation you need to know is that practically how we are able to provide this super elevation, because as I said, is there any need of limiting your super elevation value, or in other words, what is the maximum value of super elevation or minimum value of super elevation? These are the content we are going to see. Now, if we write the equation, so this is what our general equation of super elevation, E plus F is equal to V square by GR. Or if I am just going to write only for E, I can say minus F. So, the super elevation value is going to depend on the speed of the vehicle, radius of the curve, and obviously the coefficient of friction. Now, imagine a scenario in which the speed of the vehicle is more and you have a lesser radius of curve. So, as the speed increases but a less radius of curvature, and for a constant or a maximum value of friction. Now, in that case, what it demands? It demands, as the V increases, R decreases, what is going to happen for your super elevation? It's going to be considerably high. So, the super elevation value is going to increase when there is a variation in its affected parameter. So, from practical point of view, it is necessary to limit super elevation in order to providing a higher super elevation value. It is not going to be possible. So let's understand little more carefully, why there is a necessity to limit the super elevation value. Now let's consider what is centrifugal force we derived. Centrifugal force we derived was WV square divided by GR. That means speed of the vehicle, weight of the vehicle, radius of curvature, and your acceleration due to gravity. Now, let's consider the mixed traffic condition or whatever you are observing on your highways. So, on highways, you are seeing the heavy vehicles are moving, especially take an example of a truck. So, they are carrying the loads and they are moving it. And at the same time, you are seeing the other category of vehicles, light commercial vehicles, even rickshaws or even bullock carts carrying less dense materials. So, what happened to its center of gravity position? Is there any difference in it? Obviously there is a difference, and I am talking about a heavy loaded truck, the center of gravity point, as well as a bullock cart carrying a dense material. The center of gravity position varies. So as the weight varies, the centrifugal force develops also varies. So for a heavily loaded vehicle, the centrifugal force developed will be accordingly high. Now consider another scenario in which on a highway, the fast moving vehicles at the same time slow moving vehicles, both are existing. So as the speed varies, even in the case of fast moving vehicle, the centrifugal force going to develop is also high. So how should I design my super elevation? Should I consider only for a fast moving or a heavy loaded vehicles? If I am doing so, what's going to happen? If I am considering only this criteria, then the slow moving vehicle is not able to traverse the curve. Probably they may have a toppling effect or something. The vice versa for slow moving vehicles also. If I'm not designing for this, considering the slow moving vehicles, even they cannot sustain on the outer edge, there is a chance of toppling. So this is what the necessity arises, that considering both, we need to have a limit on your super elevation value. So generally we speak about two things here. One is something called as a maximum super elevation value. How much is that one can go as a maximum, and what is this minimum super elevation concept? This is what we are going to discuss now. Now, as per the IRC design guidelines, the maximum values for super elevation have been given for different terrain conditions of the road. So for the plain and rolling terrain, the maximum value of super elevation, I am going to write it as Emax here. The maximum value is limited to 7%. That means 0.07. Now, for a mountainous or a steep one, the value can be increased to 10%. 10% is the recommended value. Now, on urban roads, see, urban roads, you have frequent intersections, and for the ease of construction, ease of turning of vehicles, the value suggested is 4%. I think it's a good idea to remember all these values: 4%, 7%, 10%. So this is how the limitation what IRC is suggesting. And now look at now let's have a look at the minimum super elevation value. Now we all know that we do provide a cross slope or a camper on the road surface to drain off the surface water, right? This is must. Now the minimum super elevation is more or less, we will be comparing with what is the cross slope you are providing on it. If the super elevation what we got is less than that of the cross slope or the camper, one can consider the cross slope value itself as the super elevation. So cross slope is, which I have drawn something in this manner. So you can say like eliminating the crown, providing a uniform cross slope from outer edge to inner edge. This is what is the general practice. So just consider about what is the cross slope. Just check with what is the design value you are getting. If your design super elevation is less than the cross slope, you can take cross slope itself as the super elevation value. But make sure that the crown has been eliminated and you can provide a uniform cross slope from outer edge to inner edge. This is one of the criteria. So the other case is that when you have a flat curve in which you have the R value is high, that means a large radius of curvature is available for a flat curve. So what will happen to the centrifugal force? Centrifugal force will be WV square by GR, right? R is high means centrifugal force developed will be less. So we assume so that the centrifugal force develops over here will be less than that of the opposing frictional force. In such cases, you really don't have to provide any super elevation. Why is that? Because the centrifugal force develops will lesser than the coefficient of friction, or the friction itself is able to counteract the centrifugal force. So in such cases, again depend of the what is the camper and what is the design speed, because speed plays a very major role over here. So according to the design speed and the available camper over there, IRC again has made different radius of curvature have provided according to the design speed. I am going to show the table in which you can actually understand the radius beyond which super elevation is not required. So you can see like according to the various design speed, what is the radius has to be provided. There is no super elevation. So you can see the different camper also. These are the minimum super elevation concept. I hope that is clear. So this is what is the second aspect. There is a limitation in the super elevation because practically it is not possible to consider the super elevation looking at one or the other parameter. So one needs to be, there is an essential to limit the value, how much is the maximum and what is the consideration to be taken in the minimum super elevation. This concept has to be cleared for you. The third aspect we are going to discuss is the design of super elevation. What are the steps required to arrive into the desired super elevation value by checking the other parameters at its safe position. Designing the super elevation is quite complex because we know that vehicles are flying at a different speed. So considering this fast moving and slow moving vehicle, what is the required or how to come into a required super elevation? That is what its design process is about. Now, if I am providing a very low E value, lesser super elevation, that means it's completely going to depend on the lateral friction. So it will have, in that cases will cause an unsafe position for the fast moving vehicle. The vice versa, if you are considering for the slow moving vehicles taking a high super elevation value. So there are inconvenience if you are catering to design your super elevation considering only one particular speed of the vehicle, either the fast moving or the slow moving. In the practical consideration as a compromise, it is suggested to provide a super elevation value to fully counteract the centrifugal force for the 75% of the design speed, neglecting the lateral coefficient of friction. That means F equal to 0. Neglecting the friction, consider the centrifugal force which is going to develop for the 75% of the design speed. For that condition, calculate your super elevation value. This is what is the design recommendation. Now let's look into the stepwise design of what IRC recommendations. So it's going to be like typical 4-step process. Let's discuss it in detail. So the very first step, what you will do, let's rewrite what is super elevation equation and what is the design recommendation. That is just we explained it. So we know that super elevation is E plus F is equal to V square by GR. And what is the design super elevation? We said neglect your friction and consider V as 75% of the design speed, not the full design speed. Whatever the design speed recommended, that is not the value we are considering, 75% of it, avoiding friction. That means F is going to be 0 and V is considered as 75%. So this equation, let's rewrite it. So E is equal to, V will be changing as 0.75 V square divided by GR. E is equal to 0.75 V square by GR. Please understand this V is in meter per second. If you want to convert into kilometer per hour, we can use the equation as 0.75 capital V square divided by 127 R. Now, if you do a slight calculation of 0.75 V square and 127, you can rewrite this equation as V square divided by 225 R. So this V is in kilometer per hour. So this is step 1, that is calculate super elevation. I am emphasizing these two criteria again, neglecting the coefficient of friction and considering 75% of the design speed. Now, you calculated how much is the super elevation. Now, you have limiting criteria for your super elevation. So, step 2 is that check whatever is the E value we got and compare with your E max. So, how much is E max? E max is limited to 7%, 0.07, right? If this calculated E value is less than E max, less than 7%, one can proceed with the design calculation of super elevation we calculated. We can consider that value if it is less than. Now, if I am getting this calculated value of super elevation higher than 7%, more than 7%, that means I have to limit my value. I cannot proceed with a value which is higher than 7%. So there is a limit. There is a need for me to limit the super elevation value to the E max. But if I am limiting that, so I am just going to write E greater than E max. If this is the criteria, means one has to limit the E to E max. But if such a case is coming, you need to check what is the friction developing and what about the vehicle speed. These two conditions has to be checked over there. That calls for step 3 and step 4. So let's write step 3 and 4. So what we said, step 2 is telling you that limit your super elevation value to 7%, the maximum value. But have a check on the coefficient of friction F and the speed. So this is step 3 and 4. So step 3, first we are going to see how much is the coefficient of friction over there. So we have the same equation, E plus F is equal to V square by GR. Now, one point, please understand, when we calculated this E, we considered the design speed as 75% of the design speed. But when we are calculating the friction developed over there, we are looking at the full design speed. There is no 75% consideration here. Now, the F value is going to be, how much is the super elevation now? Super elevation is limited to maximum of 0.07 plus F is equal to capital V square by GR. So this F will be equal to V square minus GR, V square by GR minus 0.07. So this is how the frictional value, coefficient of friction you are going to calculate. design speed, available turning radius over there, and limiting the maximum value of super elevation as 7%. Now, if this value, have a check, what is the calculated coefficient of friction you got and compare with the design value which you are considering, 0.15. So, if it is less than 0.15, what is that it is telling? You are safe because you are getting frictional enough coefficient of friction which is able to move and able to counteract the centrifugal force. Or if you are getting an F value which is greater than 0.15, that means it is asking for a frictional coefficient of friction higher than what is that you can provide. So that means it's an unsafe condition. Right, you are not getting that scenario, cannot be compromised, cannot be counteracted with this kind of friction. You need more friction. With this value, you need more value. That is what I meant by unsafe. Now, if such a scenario, what is the possible actions for you? So I know that I am limiting the super elevation and I am in a danger position because unsafe position rather, because I need a more friction, but I need to limit the friction in that case as 0.15. Now if I am limiting that, what are the other parameters I can look at it? I have to probably look at, what is the radius and speed of the vehicle. So either I should increase the radius, provide a large turning radius, or what is the design speed, what is the allowable speed, restrict speed, that is what in other terms. So it asks for step 4. See, doing change in anything on radius calls for realignment. So that is something, the last option we will look at it. So step 3 suggests you that calculate F value, look at the criteria. If it is less, consider the same F value. So one can limit the super elevation as 7%, not a problem. But this F value is greater than 0.15, it is unsafe. Calculate what is the speed, allowable speed. So from the same equation I am going to tell that E plus F is equal to V square by GR. Now what is that we are saying? We are limiting E as 0.07 and what is the value we are limiting friction? 0.15, because that's the maximum value we can consider. V square divided by GR. Now, I'm just going to write V as VA because we are going to see that how much is the allowable speed over there. So, this 0.07 plus 0.15 is 0.22. So, I can write it as VA square is equal to, what will be the equation? VA square by GR is going to be 0.22. So, what will be VA square? It will be 0.22 GR square root. Okay, so I'm just completing here itself. GR. VA will be square root of 0.22 GR. Now, if I'm just multiplying G and all other parameters, you can write this equation as 2.15 R. If this is in meter per second, or if I'm converting into kilometer per hour, it will be 27.94 R square root if I am expressing this as kilometer per hour. This is the allowable speed. This is the speed it has to travel when we are limiting both super elevation and coefficient of friction. Now, is there any value to compare? Yes, we have the value to compare with our design speed. Just check this allowable speed. What is the speed in that? Because you are restrained to travel in this allowable speed, and compare that with the design speed. If the allowable speed is greater than design speed, what is the meaning of it? That is, when I am limiting the friction, still I am able to take a speed which is greater than the design speed. That means I am safe. So this means you are safe condition. Right? So what will happen on the reverse way? If your allowable speed is less than the design speed, that means you are not safe, unsafe. Right? You are not able to travel with the limiting value of super elevation. What is 7% we limited? You cannot take up the design speed. So that calls for an unsafe condition. So in such a case, only possibility is that you need to provide restrictions for the design speed. So probably, see, in generally the practice in highways is that you might have seen warning signs. So restriction in speed like a sharp curve ahead. So you need to give adequate information to the passengers, saying like, there is a danger, or there is a need to be little more control with respect to your speed. So warning signs and restriction measures is one possibility. Or in other ways, still you have an option, like you can think of providing a larger turning radius. That means typically and realignment only at the horizontal curve portions. If you are able to provide a large radius of curvature, that is another option feasible. So this is what is the design practice of super elevation. So let me quickly tell which are the 4 steps so that we can wind it up. So the step 1, what we did is that we designed the super elevation, or we are calculating the super elevation considering zero friction. That means neglecting the friction, and 75% of the design speed. Considering the 75% because to cater both slow as well as fast moving vehicle. Now whatever the E value you get, if it is compare with the maximum limiting value of super elevation. If it is less than the limiting value of friction, good enough, proceed with the value whichever we calculated. Now if the E value is greater than E max, you are not allowed to go with this step because there is a limiting value. So limit this E value into 7%. Okay. So in this criteria means if E greater than, in that case, therefore I will write E has to be limited to 7%. Clear? But when I limit this, I need to check about what about the other parameters. Step 2, you will calculate the coefficient of friction over there. So I'm going to write the equation F is equal to V square by GR minus E. But this minus E means limiting value of friction limiting value of super elevation 0.07. Please note this point, very important, because we are considering the full design speed for the friction, coefficient of friction calculation. Now, this friction value, whatever you are getting, again you have a comparison. So the friction you get, if it is less than the design value of coefficient of friction 0.15, we are safe, right? But if the friction required is greater than 0.15, if I am limiting my super elevation in this way, this is not safe condition for me. That means I need to either see, like if this is the scenario coming, I have to limit my value somehow to 0.15. If I am limiting in this case, then what is going to happen for the speed, allowable speed of the vehicle at that case? And that has to be compared with the design speed. Okay. Now, so the step 3 calls for it, calculate the allowable speed. So I am using the same equation. Fe plus F is equal to Va square by Gr, which is the allowable speed we are going to calculate. And now we have limited both E also, F also. That is 0.07 plus 0.15, which is nothing but 0.22. Okay, 0.22 is equal to Va square by Gr. Therefore, Va is equal to root of 0.22 Gr. This design speed, I have again criteria. This is allowable speed. I am going to check with this allowable speed, is that greater than design speed? That means if I am limiting both the cases, if the allowable speed is greater than, whatever the allowable speed I am able to travel is greater than design speed, yes, I am safe. But if it is coming less than the design speed, then I do have a problem. This is not safe, right? So I have to provide enough warning signs or the restriction in speed messages to people and to make sure about the safety over there. The other possibility in that case is that you can think about increasing your turning radius, if it is typically a realignment if it is possible. So these are typically the steps involved in the design of super elevation as per the IRC recommendation. So I hope the concept of need of super elevation, the calculation of super elevations, the equilibrium conditions, the forces acting on a super elevated plane, And the second aspect we discussed about is the limitations in super elevation, maximum value, minimum value of super elevation, and we covered the design of super elevation. I hope all these concepts are clear to you now. Probably in the next video, with all these knowledge, we can proceed with a couple of numericals. Thank you.